Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. So we're currently entering into Q4 of 2025 and it looks like this year wants to go out with a bang with some awesome new VR games. We have everything from an officially licensed Dungeons & Dragons board game, an 8-player co-op PvE shooter, a story-driven horror-themed Star Trek title, and some over-the-top action with Marvel's Deadpool. So if you're yet to be impressed by the VR games that released in 2025, it looks like that's going to change in the next few months. Now there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but before we jump in, today's video is actually sponsored by one of those incredible upcoming games, and that's the PCVR release for Dungeons of Eternity. This title originally released on the MetaQuest nearly 2 years ago, and it's currently sitting at a 4.9 out of 5 review score with nearly 10,000 reviews. Now I 100% agree with that score because I completely fell in love with this game, and it's an excellent physics-based hack and slash co-op dungeon crawler. For me, it checks a lot of boxes and scratches a lot of very specific itches. There's not many games that give you physics-based combat, an RPG leveling system, really cool environments to explore and enemies to battle, with the added bonus of co-op. So if you're a PCVR gamer looking to scratch that RPG itch, I highly recommend this title. And you're also going to be getting the best experience of this game because the visuals have been significantly upgraded to take advantage of those beefy GPUs. Now, if you've already played Dungeons of Eternity on Quest, please let me know down in the comments what you think about the game. For now though, let's move into those awesome upcoming new titles. Starting off with basically the closest we will get to AAA quality in VR, we have Reach coming from Dreams Evolution. Now this is a studio with a serious past in VR gaming, giving us titles like Phantom Covert Ops, Fracked, and Synapse on the PlayStation VR 2. They're promising this will be their biggest game ever. It includes built from the ground up VR mechanics, a lengthy story-driven campaign, a large focus on cinematics, plus some incredible looking sci-fi parkour. This looks to be an easy contender for Game of the Year, as we're getting the biggest budget title yet from an already awesome studio. And it looks like it's the exact same case for Studio Twisted Pixel as they're making Marvel's Deadpool. This is another OG VR studio that gave us titles such as Wilson's Heart and one of my personal favorites, Defector, but since they're now acquired by Meta, they have a lot more money to spend inside of the massively well-established Marvel IP. Thanks to Meta, Sincero gave us Asgard's Wrath 2, Camouflage gave us Batman Arkham Shadow, and now Twisted Pixel will give us Marvel's Deadpool. Now if you're familiar with the character, you should pretty much know what you're in for. Gratuitous R-rated murder, lots of witty character quips, many of which will be juvenile, and a much higher than average production value for a VR game. So similar to the Deadpool movies, I expect this will be flashy, fun, and filled with a ton of over-the-top action. Now if you prefer co-op over single-player games, there's 2 upcoming titles that I'm really excited for. The first is the PvE shooter Exoshock. Exoshock allows you to customize your loadout, drop down into dynamically created levels, and then engage in custom missions and intense firefights with 1 to 4 players. Now I originally demoed this back at GDC, and I love both the squad-based tactics and overall graphical design, so I'm pretty hyped to see how far along this game has come. But another co-op title that I also tried at GDC left me even more impressed, and that is Titan Isles. From the same studio that gave us Windlands 1 and 2, we now have a co-op shooter with up to 8 players that has you controlling truly unique characters, all with specialized abilities and different roles on the battlefield. Your suit might specialize in things like tanking stronger attacks, having a much more agile flight system, or being able to just deal out as much damage as quickly as possible. Levels feel a bit like a bullet storm mixed with a high-flying adventure, and then you'll eventually make it to these massive boss-like enemies that require squad-based tactics to successfully take down. I honestly wasn't very excited for this game until I tried the demo, and trust me guys, it is coming along fantastic. And while the trailer itself might not look like much, in VR this game looks fantastic, and the cartoony style works really well. But I'm not always looking for co-op, and I usually enjoy graphics that are a little bit more realistic, so that's why I'm also pumped for the story-driven shooter of Lies and Rain. This is another one of those dystopian, sci-fi, futuristic worlds where you're battling for humanity's survival. Now this almost feels like Tron meets Half-Life Alyx, as you end up battling on the edge of the virtual and real worlds, and as you could expect, things get a little weird when you have to fight an AI overlord. Now this will be releasing in early access, but there's currently a demo up on Steam, so I recommend you give this game a try. Now speaking of giving games a try and battling evil AI overlords, we also have Arken Age making its way onto the MetaQuest 3. Previously released for PlayStation VR 2 and PCVR, this is an absolutely fantastic story-driven action-adventure title. Throughout your journey, you'll craft some really cool weapons that you utilize for both ranged and melee combat. The enemy AI continue to surprise me throughout the game as they engage you with multiple different tactics. The physics-based combat is fantastic, the graphics are absolutely stunning, and this was a really cool and unique world to explore. It was an absolutely surprise hit for 2025, and as long as this doesn't get downgraded into Oblivion, making its way onto the Quest, it should still be an absolutely fantastic version. Now for the Dead Space fans out there, we're also getting Memoreum, which is basically a Dead Space inspired VR game. I'm pretty sure you guys know the drill. A derelict space station, the crew's been mutated into zombie-like creatures, you're gonna have to learn to be efficient in decapitation and dismemberment, and just when you get used to the monsters and jump scares, there's gonna be a much bigger creature around every corner. Now I actually played a demo of this back at last year's Gamescom and just absolutely loved it. They weren't bringing anything truly new to the table, but it's the type of experience we've always wanted in VR. The sound design was fantastic, and it really does feel like Dead Space. But for a more unique experience that we don't get very often, Aces of Thunder is bringing some high-flying dogfights. Take to the skies in some authentic World War I and World War II fighter planes, shooting your way through a full story-driven campaign, and not only will this deliver some stunning graphics, but PC players also have full HOTAS support. So if you're looking for something that's a bit of a mix between flight sim and arcadey shooter, Aces of Thunder should be your go-to game. But Matt, that's just yet another shooter, this time just set in the sky while you're flying. Give me something different. VR is meant for so much more. You're right, guys. And that's why we have the MOBA-style fighting game, Glassbreakers Champions of Moss. Now this is definitely a unique one. From the same studio that gave us Moss Book 1 and 2, they're now taking some hero-style characters from that world and making you guys battle it out in a PvP title. Now this is definitely not Smash Brothers. It's much more of that micromanagement MOBA style combat with the main goal of destroying the opponent's crystal with your characters leveling up during the fight. Now I tried a beta version of this game nearly 2 years ago and was super impressed way back then, so I'm pumped to jump back into this game as soon as possible. But if MOBAs aren't your style, we're also getting a brand new action-adventure survival title, Tracked Shoot to Survive. From the same team that gave us Green Hell VR and Bulletstorm VR, Tracked is a brand new, built from the ground up VR survival game that leaves you stranded in the Canadian wilds. Here you'll need to do whatever it takes to survive, including exploring, looting, shooting, and trying not to become prey. Now next up, we recently got a surprise announcement for an upcoming Star Trek title. Interestingly enough, with almost unlimited lore and a universe of different stories to choose from, they decided to go with a zombie horror theme. That's right, we have another derelict ship with some type of strange contaminant on it, and it sort of looks like the staff is turning into zombies. Luckily for you though, you're an emotions repressed Vulcan, so you're not repulsed by the monstrosity surrounding you. Now, putting the overall cliche theme aside, I am a huge Trekkie, so this looks like it could be a lot of fun, and the story could always have a few really cool twists and turns along the way. So I'll reserve my judgment and stay cautiously optimistic. But last up, you can't stop my hype train for Battlemarked. This is the officially licensed Dungeons & Dragons title coming out of Resolution Games, the studio that gave us the absolutely fantastic board game experience, Demio. Now that was previously called Dungeons & Dragons in VR forever, but it lacked things like character progression and storytelling, so now they're really leaning into that direction with some additional help from Wizards of the Coast. I'm just insanely pumped for this game. I love the strategic dice-based combat. I've been a D&D fan for 30 plus years, and soon I'm gonna get to share that tabletop experience with a bunch of my VR buddies. And that right there was all of the new game announcements, but before you go, I just want to mention a few little surprises. As you guys know, I'm currently working for a studio called Noetic Realms, and we're really hoping to give you guys a free demo of the game before the end of the year. So keep your eyes out for that. You could also check out the devlog to see the current status of the game. And I also think there's going to be a few more surprises before 2025 is over, so I can't wait to catch up with you guys on those later in the year. But for right now, please leave a comment letting me know what game you're most excited for. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, consider subscribing.